Hello and welcome to the Cutie Art Crusaders, episode 158 for July 17th, 2015. My name is Rainbow Plasma. I'm the organizer and host of this week's podcast, and today I'm joined by...
Burn One, the special guest coordinator, and the editor this week? Shrug?
Maybe? I don't know. I'm FlutterGuy317. I'm the media manager of the podcast, and maybe I'm the editor.
We'll talk about
And
it.
I'm Atmospark, and I'm the questions, DeviantArt stuff, and possibly the editor this week.
Holy cow, guys! It's like
Hey.
the first time in like a billion years that we've actually had all four of us together.
Right?
Yeah.
So I was just talking to Bernd about this last week, but like I've been feeling like so used lately because like I'll have 1 week with Joel and then 1 week with Bernd and 1 week with Ted, and it's just like, oh my goodness, you guys, like, can we just come back together and be a nice happily family?
So long since we've
But
been.
we're back now
together.
finally after like 6 or 7 or 8 episodes. It's been like 2 months since we've actually like all recorded together.
Yeah.
Guys, it's been way too long.
Yeah.
I missed you.
Been too
So,
long since I've
Talking
seen
points.
your face.
Ted is back.
Yay!
Where were you last week?
So my sister came up. My family has a beach house, and she came up and had a big party with some of her friends, and I was chaperoning that.
Oh, okay.
Quote unquote chaperoning.
Yeah.
Because like I knew the week before, like you couldn't record on the Friday because it was like the day off, right? So I totally
Yes.
understood that. But then you said you couldn't do the Friday again, and I was so confused. And then I recorded with Burn. So
Yeah. Sorry about that.
Quote unquote chaperoning holds your sister.
She is 24.
Yeah, okay. Context is important.
Yeah. So it was more like, just partying with them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and Joel is back, of course. You're back from Bali. Sorry, I meant to say Bali.
Bali, yes.
Yeah.
I am back from Bali.
And how was your vacation?
It was good fun. It was so hot. It was hot there. And then I came back here, and it's like 7 degrees, and I'm freezing.
Oh, you baby!
I don't know what that is.
That's
It's
so
like
weird to
40
me.
something.
Well,
A 47?
40-something.
it's hang on, no, it's 27 is like what, 7 degrees? Well, 27 degrees.
No,
What?
what temperature
7
is it there?
is like
It's 7
40.
degrees here.
It's 45 degrees, Burn.
45 degrees.
Yeah, Celsius and then 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Okay,
Correct.
Yeah.
yes, I would agree. That is chilly.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
guys,
Chilliness.
I would agree it's chilly. You guys are babies if you think that's cold.
It is when you just get off a plane
Yes.
from 27.
Get on my level!
Also, it's Australia. Is that like a record low or?
There
I
is
saw-
actually some
apparently it hit
record
freezing.
lows at the moment.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
saw a
but-
picture
Wow.
on Reddit of an Australian guy making a snowman, and it was
Yeah.
the first time they had snow in like Queensland or something, wherever
Yeah,
it is.
it's
in
like-
Well,
Australia.
that's where Joel is.
That place is like a 2-hour drive for me. It's like the biggest snowfall I've had in like 40 years.
Yeah, and it had a picture of this Australian guy like in the dirt next to his truck, like lying on the ground with this measly snowman that was like a foot high, and it was like half dirt. And he's like, "Yeah,"
Yeah,
and he was
that's what-
wearing
that's
flip
it.
flops.
Mhm.
It was good.
Nice.
See, the thing is, though, right? Like, so it hits like 7. It's hitting pretty low, right? But I just Googled like where you live, comma weather, and like right now it's 16, which is in Fahrenheit that would be like 60.
Yeah, no,
And then like the rest of the week is like that and warmer.
Yeah, but that's the highs. That's not
Yeah.
the lows.
Yeah.
Sure, but like I don't know. I just have a different reference
Yeah.
for cold.
It's
You guys live in this like wonderful paradise where things are so warm, and I'm so jealous because half of my year is like horrible,
because like
winters.
we all have climates, right? Not climates, but times of
Temperate
year.
zones?
Whatever it's called, seasons. We all have seasons, but it's still weird to think about that. Like I'm just about to hit a heat wave here in Washington, where it's like going to get close to 100 all bloody week, and but in Australia it's colder than here. It's like
Yeah.
Right, the northern hemisphere versus southern hemisphere and how that affects the
Yeah,
seasons. is
there's also
definitely
Australia
something I'm
isn't
not
just-
used
it's like Australia isn't just always hot. Like what?
to.
We've
Well, a lot of it
also had
is,
this
though.
thing like the last week. It's just they're calling it an Antarctic vortex. There's a whole lot of cold air coming up from Antarctica.
I'm sorry, but that just
That sounds
so
awesome.
That sounds so crazy.
Doesn't it?
And like what it means is like, ooh, 5-degree dip. Like an Antarctic vortex. You know,
6 degrees.
degree
Whoa.
dip. Chilly
How do
out.
you know?
Wow.
No, we get that kind of. We used to get that kind of stuff in Alaska, where it's like, man, we're having record-breaking heat waves here in Alaska, and you know why? Because Hawaii weather is blowing all the way over the Pacific to us, and we were literally getting like 80, 90-degree weather just because there was a specific wind gust coming all the way from freaking Hawaii. And I don't know if anybody knows, but Hawaii to Alaska is really, really, really far.
Yeah.
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 I think though, isn't it true that Alaska has had higher temperatures than Hawaii because Hawaii is closer to the equator, and so it's more consistent like throughout
Well,
the year?
Hawaii is also an island, right? So the surrounding water
Yeah.
normalizes the temperature.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's true. And
So-
then it depends on where you are in Alaska too, because the outside of Alaska is very, very like dependent on what blows in and out, coast-wise and like water-wise. But then like central Alaska, it's all ice.
Yeah.
Forget
like land masses heat up and cool down a lot quicker than water. So like, the record highs for the world have been set in places like the US, which aren't that far south, but they're south enough, plus the combination of a large landmass with not a lot of water to
Yeah.
kind of distribute the temperature properly.
Water and
So like
airflow.
certain islands out in the Caribbean or Hawaii, like because they have so much water around it, it takes a much longer time for that temperature to rise. So it can't get as hot as it gets in certain places, which is why people think it's crazy when I say Canada gets like really hot weather and we get like high 30s in certain places. Yes, we are colder than say like southern states or something like that, but like we are still on like a large landmass, so we get huge fluctuations in temperature.
Yeah.
Science.
It's cool. Temperature's a cool thing. Anyways,
Yeah.
I hope you had a great time in Bali. I saw that you got some pretty nasty sunburns.
Oh yeah.
I didn't
Yeah.
see any pictures.
They're on my
But
Facebook.
Yeah.
There's a couple of my Facebook.
I need to
I
go
got a
there.
whole bunch that I haven't put
I'll
up
have
yet.
to check it.
Yeah, I'm
Danny
looking
will
forward
put
to
this
it.
up eventually.
Mm.
Link me to them.
That's so cool.
And I think there were, what was the cat? 6 wild Balinese animals just jumped on my head.
Nice.
Your head is a nice perch. What can they say?
Apparently.
Balinese animals? Like, what kind of animals? Like monkeys?
There was a very wet monkey jumped on my head.
Oh,
Because
that's awesome.
it jumped out of a pool of water straight onto my head.
Oh my.
We were watching it right and we're thinking, and Danny was saying, Joel, take photo. Joel, take photo. Quick, wet monkey. And then it ran up and jumped on my head.
Selfie.
Yeah, that's what I did. And then there was a civet. That
Nice.
one was
Civet.
that was somebody's civet, but it was still kind of wild.
What's a civet?
Yeah.
It's like a tree cat kind of thing.
Yeah.
Huh.
They make
How do
the,
you
they make the
spell
world's
it? I'm gonna
expensive
Google
coffee.
Civet.
It's like CIVET, I think.
Yeah. CIV.
Oh, that's a weird looking animal.
yeah. But
Link.
they eat coffee cherries and poop out the coffee beans, and it's the world's most expensive coffee.
Oh, I've heard that.
Oh.
Yeah.
You just wrote the
Interesting.
word. I got it.
Yeah, we had some. It was good.
Civet.
But yeah, one of those jumped on my head. There's a
What a
in my photo
The
Like
heck?
the-
The thing's
the-
like.
time, like consecutive photos. There's one of me taking a photo really close up of the civet's face, and next one is it on my head. That's kind of funny.
That thing isn't a cat. Thing's a friggin' marsupial. Looks like half raccoon.
It's called a civet cat, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Civet.
Weird.
It looks
Very weird.
like a weasel raccoon.
Yeah. Also had a couple of birds.
Nice. Did any like lay an egg on you?
No.
Oh yeah,
Oh.
wasn't there like I think I remember seeing there was like a picture that you posted of Danny with like a ton of birds on her, wasn't it?
Yeah, there were two.
Or did she
hornbills.
post that? Oh yeah.
Mm.
Two big hornbills. That was it. What was it? One of the bird zoo, I think.
You'll have to get once we figure out who's editing this week, you'll have to get some of these pictures to them so that we can
Yeah.
we can show them off.
Yeah.
Ted.
That's right. I'm editing. I've got the photos ready.
Right. Yeah.
I see. That's funny. That's funny.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, we literally swept you out of bed to get you on the podcast. We were like, you have 5 minutes to get here, and
Get out
you
of
got
bed.
added time
I
because we need to
got
record
back to
quickly.
Australia at 5 a.m. yesterday morning. I hadn't slept until last night. So
Oh my, yeah.
I'm so
I
sorry.
can see
Well,
that.
But you're here now.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you for
Yeah.
getting
Yeah.
up. We will excuse you for eating while doing it. I think that's totally fair considering how fast we got you. We
this
had
is my breakfast.
you get up.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Yeah.
There's definitely been more, like many a podcast which I've been shoving toast in my mouth, like while we're recording.
Bernd actually, in his spare time, is a professional toast shover.
Yeah.
He goes to competitions. It's kind of like speed eating, except it's Bernd shoving toast up his nose.
He goes to toast shoving
yeah.
competitions.
See. Now I'm just imagining burned in like a luchador mask, like just shoving toast in people's.
Just toast, halfway sticking in my mask.
He's actually El Tosterino Bandito.
Le Toastador, yes!
And yeah, I mean, like, Burn, you introduced me to the world of competitive nose eating, and I have to give you credit for that.
Nose eating.
Yeah, he just takes those pieces of toast. He just rolls them up and right up his nose.
See,
like
it's a special skill. You can't tell, but normally when I'm twirling my mustache on the podcast, I'm actually twirling my nose hairs.
Oh, that's okay. So we took this from a place of like safety and humor, and we went to a place of disgustingness and snot. That's where we've gone now. We've gone, you know where we've gone, Burn? We've gone right up your nose. You have nose eaten us.
I will
this entire
wreck you in the wrestling ring like both sides of your toast are burnt. Yes.
Oh, I missed you.
All right.
I missed you all.
I was mentioning to everybody else and Burned too, but I was like, man, I missed Burned, like on the podcast before. You know, like we've got a good dynamic, the four of us, and when you're missing one of that piece, it kind of like gets off balance. Yeah. And I missed Burned and his toast sniffing ways. Although it is a problem, you need to see. You really need to see someone about it. Like I think, yeah.
Burned, have you moved on from just German toast now? Are you like on to other nationalities of toast?
Well, there's many qualities of bread. So it's like, while German bread, it's funny and ironic because that's how we actually got on the concept of sniffing Germans, was delicious smelling German bread.
It's true.
That is true, actually.
And now we've come full circle. So it's like, but I mean, some of my favorite types of bread are like whole wheat, like sourdough. So like, then that's not specifically a German bread, but that smells pretty good.
Japanese bread's
But
pretty
does it
good
smell
too.
like San Franciscans?
But the wholer wheat, more like harder grain breads are harder to shove up your nostrils because they're thicker, you know?
Right.
So
Have you ever started a conversation and then regretted it?
Nah. I'm like Gavin. Yeah. Forget it.
All right. So we have some art today that we can talk about. So we should do that probably at some point, maybe in 45 minutes or so. Ha! Just joking. We can do it right now.
Yeah.
All right. So I'm going first this week, and as such, I will now present my art piece to you. And the art piece is called Princess Luna V2.0 by Celebi Yoshi. And this is a wonderful remake of a piece that she made years ago, like 4 years ago or 3 or 4 years ago. It was a great Luna piece that she's been selling at cons, and so she decided, she's going to BronyCon soon, that she would revamp this Princess Luna piece, and I think it came out spectacularly.
It's really
that's why I'm
pretty.
featuring it. It is very, very pretty, and I think these type of art pieces where you see like the old one and the new one is really interesting to me, to see like the progression that an artist makes in just a couple of years, and it really is incredible to see the progression.
Like those couple of years was Celebi Yoshi going through like art college, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, thesis and all that.
Yeah, and also like just, you know, we say like a couple of years, but when you think about practice, and I know she's someone who practices like each week, right? Like that amount of practice does add up. Those hours add up, and you get better slowly until you get to a point where you look back and you go, wow, this is the progress I've made in these last couple of years.
Yeah.
You know, years are a long metric of time, right? So it's cool to see the progression.
High resolution and fancy too.
Like
all these effects and stuff on it.
Very much so. The hair is so, like, I love the hair and how it like, it's like almost like a liquidy, like plasma-y jelly type of thing, you know? It's got so much flow to it.
And it like weaves in and out of the picture too, or like on Luna. So like there's places in which like it goes in front of her and behind her. So like I'm looking at her back leg, and if you notice her like back leg area there, like underneath her stomach, it kind of like flows, like it's like behind her but then over her front leg, but then it goes like over and behind her back leg at like the same time. It kind of like flows through it, so it like makes it not only look, you know, like all this ethereal, but it's actually kind of like this, I don't know, crazy thing that like moves and forms through stuff, which gives it like a whole nother really sweet dynamic. And especially like the little bits of it that are like missing outside of the mane and tail too, like those little globs like outside of it.
Yeah. It's really liquidy and jelly and so different from what I've seen. I think these kind of ethereal manes.
A good descriptive term is ethereally viscous. I'm gonna make that up. That's what it feels like.
I like
to me.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's like dripping over her wing.
Because it looks viscous, like it has viscosity, technical terms, like water with surface tension, but it also looks ethereal in the fact of how shiny and starry and magical it is. It's like ectoplasm. Ectoplasm.
Ooh, I like that. I like that. It's ectoplasma. Plasm. Damn it.
Plasma. Ectoplasma.
Damn it.
So, Bernd, I have to ask, does ethereally viscous material always come with glitter?
Yes.
Buckets of glitter.
Because it's so sparkly.
Yes.
I can totally like envision her making this piece which has no glitter on it, and then she's like, I wonder what's missing, and then she just like pulls out buckets of glitter.
There's just like a Photoshop brush she has that's labeled like butt tons of glitter. Just like, what's this missing? Yeah,
just like swiping across the screen. yeah, that's that. Yep, that sounds
definitely
like
some really sweet little shiny bits all over in there that look really awesome.
Yeah,
and like
I really like.
Go ahead.
Go on.
Fine, I will. There's little spots that like show little volume bits too. So like if you look on like the top of Luna's head and like on her ears, there's like blue little splatters. But there was one spot where like the blue splatter was like coming off of the wing or like her face or something that looked very nifty. I have to find it. Where'd it go? There's too many dots. I lost it. Whatever, you say your thing.
Good talk.
Good talk.
Wait, I found it. On her right wing, there's something really cool. Her blue hair is kind of being separated by the background, and by her wing by a very bright shade of violet. So if you look on the upper right hand part of her hair, where there's like that bright violet in between her hair and her wing, which is arcing and doing this sweet like 3D part where it's like showing the top of the feather and the whatever. There's little purple dots in there that like are coming outside of the thing.
Right.
And it's cool.
Yeah. So speaking of her wing, it's awesome. The perspective on it is just really cool. Because it's coming towards the camera and it's like curved out, like the tips are curved up, but the wing is actually curved back and stuff, and it's like it looks really neat.
I got the feeling when I was looking at it that's like I was looking at all the other parts of the piece, and like the wings didn't really stand out because it's a dark on dark background, and so there's a lot of stuff that catches your eye, and all of a sudden you see this wing and it's almost like it seems so much closer than it initially does, so it's almost like whoa, like that wing is close to us and I didn't realize it.
Yeah. Also, I like the detail in it. Like it's not, feathered like a super detailed feather. It's kind of more like a clay-y kind of representation of feathers.
Yeah, there's almost detail there, but it gives you enough to go, hey, it's kind of cool. And then you look away and it goes, hey, no, it's really all feathery and stuff.
Yeah.
It has this nifty effect that looks like a Photoshop filter almost, like on the feathers. What? Nifty?
Yeah.
Or
You've said it like 4 times now.
You know what?
He's a nifty guy.
Face is nifty. Anywho, there's an effect on the smaller feathers, and then the middle feather there. There's like a little, I don't know, glowy filter thing. You know what I'm talking about?
Maybe.
Yes, glowy filter thing.
Yeah.
It's nifty.
It is very, very nifty. Joel, is there anything else you like about this piece?
The way that the clouds are all like swoosh up into the sky, like in the background and stuff, it makes these circly type effects, and it's all swoosh.
Yeah.
It does give like a certain sense of like motion there, right? She's not just hovering; like stuff's happening around her. Maybe she's coming in for a landing.
She's swooshing.
She's swooshing the clouds. Yeah, I like that. She is doing that.
Yeah.
It gives motion.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And framing.
And circly whooshiness.
I mean, if we're gonna get into professional terms, Bernd, then we can. But like, I'm trying to stay down on like a more relatable level.
I know circly whooshiness might be like a step above what maybe our viewers are used to, but I don't want to throw out too many terms like that that are just like hard.
I'm just saying
comprehend.
It makes you sound pretentious when you say circly.
Sometimes my brain's is too big for the world to handle.
Wow.
It's just
wow.
the one in my head, and then also the one in my butt.
Good as well.
All right. I thought I was the only one. All right. Yeah, so like honestly, this is a really amazing piece. It's funny because when we all know Kate. But when she
Hi,
showed
Kate.
when she showed it to us, that's Celebi by the way. When she showed it to us, or when she showed it to me rather, she was like, I'm not really sure about this piece. And like, meanwhile, I was like, sorry, I'll talk to you in a minute, but my jaw needs to be picked up from the floor.
It's so pretty.
And it's I think one more phenomenon that I wanted to talk about relating to the earlier piece too is, right, sometimes you don't realize, like, looking back on something, kind of how much progress you've made until you can see the direct comparison. I remember looking at this Princess Luna piece, like she was selling it at her booth last year. So like I was looking at like that piece there and I was like, wow, that's so good. And I remember looking back on it over the last year. And then like now that I look back at it, I'm like, wow, this second one is so much better. You can see like how much progress she's made.
That first one can get out of here.
Yeah, exactly. It's like now that I've seen like what she can do now, it's like, oh yeah, definitely. You know,
Oh my.
it's just funny to me how that kind of works. Like up until I see this new version, this old version is still like amazing. And it's like, well, here's something even more amazing.
The colors are more vivid. Like the value's way freaking better. Like there's a way huge range of like dark versus light. Like the character's rendered super awesome, and and something that she's improved incredibly on too, and you can see it in the old one, is she's really, really good at doing volume now. So like showing that something has volume, right? So like it exists in a 3D space. So like the shades on just like Luna's face itself, like the light from her hair hitting her face and like causing the extreme dark spot on like the top of her nose and like in her head and ear, but then also the light spots like under her chin and like around her face. And then something that's a very little touch, but that a lot of artists will overlook, and like you obviously didn't see it too much in the old one, but you can see now, is if you look at her eyelashes, they're rendered as an actual 3D object because they're painted dark and then have a light spot underneath them that's very sharp and well edged, rendered again. And then it happens the same thing like on her crown, and then in a few other places, like on the little, Dark Flame likes to call it a Luna bib.
Yeah.
Little armor plate thing.
This is definitely one of those pieces that I think is totally consumable from like far away, but like go download this picture, like go look it on DeviantArt, zoom in, like the amount of detail up close is pretty staggering as well.
And then the shoes too, they're not just like the black back edge of it isn't just like I'm going to be a dark edge to show that I'm 3D. It's like they're actually reflective. So some edges are dark and some edges reflect the light. And like that's a really, really fancy, smart touch too.
But they're like, it's not like pure reflective. Like it's it really looks like metal that's been hammered out and stuff. Like her shoes really
fancy
would be
gold shoes. Yeah,
it's cool.
It's good stuff.
The amount of detail up close is really like, it's something you don't realize at first, but holy cow.
You did good, Kate.
Oh yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh yeah.
Good,
This is like the best piece I've ever seen her make, and it's just like, whoa. It's
Hear that,
crazy.
Kate? All your other pieces suck.
Thanks, Ted.
Just kidding. We love you.
Also, Luna doesn't have weird shoulder wings now. Like
What?
Luna's wings are like, they're really beautiful and like put in the right spot. She doesn't have like wonky shoulder wings now.
It's true.
I'm giving her a jump
Anyways,
for her old
before-
piece.
We should move on. We should move on to the next piece before we start trashing all of her other stuff.
Suck
In all honesty, though, her other pieces are amazing as well.
Yeah.
Anyhow, so the piece that I'm bringing today is called Commission Piercing the Sky by Divinian. And this is actually a piece that Bernd brought to me.
Hi.
And I really, really like the perspective in it. Because it's kind of a good example of the distorted perspective that we talked about in our perspective episode, where you get this barrel distortion. Like
In
if you look down
perspective.
on the tiles, they're kind of curved in a certain way.
Yeah, Divinian's that's his thing, right? Perspective.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Well, his thing is he likes big sweeping landscapes of all kinds.
Yeah, but with that comes perspective.
Well, in his case, yes.
Yes.
If you do it well.
I had to think about that because technically, yes, because he's very good at other forms of perspective. So normally what we used to see him draw is atmospheric perspective and making like mountains and scenery seem far away. So yes, you are correct, sir. But like the first thing where we saw like actual like point driven perspective was in like that Celestia one and like maybe one other that really like caught us. But this one like way uses those things that we talked about in our perspective episode of like multiple point perspective and like really utilizes it, you know.
And like the perspective in here is, I think, more emphasized than perhaps in some of the other pieces that Divinian does.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. Well, because you get this vanishing point up near the top, and then you get vanishing points kind of in the back and to the sides. But like I said earlier, everything's really warped. Like you're looking through a like a fisheye lens almost.
Yeah.
And it makes it really cool. Kind of puts you right into the scene almost. Like you're sitting there looking at it.
Well, and it gives a grand scale to everything. It makes everything, the buildings, seem so much larger. And I think that's kind of the mood that Divinia is trying to convey in this piece. You know, there's this sense of wonder within this pony's eyes. And so it's kind of like he or she is taking a look at this landscape for the first time and being in awe of how big and grand it is. And I think the camera angle and the perspective kind of helps us feel that emotion as well.
Mm-hmm. Bernd, I have to ask you because I'm not quite sure myself, but does him placing the horizon line lower to the bottom edge of the picture give it more of a vast sense of space?
Yeah, a little bit.
Because it kind of opens up.
So it does a couple things. Normally, your horizon line should always be placed lower on a picture plane, because if you think about it, when we're standing, our eye is a bit above the horizon line, because the horizon line is, well, okay, so hold on, I'm going to get ahead of myself. The horizon line is always at our eye level. Let me just start with that. So when we are standing and we are looking straight, the end of the horizon is going to be where our eye is, essentially, or where our head height is. That's the horizon line. But normally in life, we're looking up at things, or if we're observing something, we're going to be looking up at stuff. So normally the horizon line is placed a little bit lower because people usually don't take pictures of the ground. But on this one, the horizon line is very low, and what that does is it means we're looking up. So as you can see in the picture, the majority of everything in this is all above us. It's all above the floor. But it's not just the horizon line for the perspective, it's also the quote-unquote horizon line for the world, right? So there's two different horizon lines. There's the perspective horizon line, and then there's also the like visible or world, like physical horizon line of like, you know, the yonder horizon. So like that is actually super low as well, which is where the road is, right? So like all these buildings and everything that exists is placed, starts very, very low, and then we are now placed looking up at it. So, you know, like what, 80%, 90% of this picture is all just like building up above what we're looking at and where this, like the horizon line and vanishing points are placed, or the specific vanishing point for this, what is this? This is like an alleyway or whatnot, Main Street.
Yeah. Huh. Very cool. It's interesting that like the style in which he did the buildings in this piece, because it reminds me a lot of the Children of the Night scene where we did talk about this kind of perspective a bit. Just because of like the cupolas on the top of the building and like this very like I don't know what the style is called.
It's like,
but like,
yeah, I feel I want to say like Russian Orthodox kind of inspired church, you know, onion domes and stuff like that. But it's also very Disney, very cartoony. But like I wouldn't know the exact term for it. But what's
spinny twirlies.
It's very, very cute. Spinny twirlies,
guys. Come on now.
We're getting way ahead of
spinny
ourselves.
twirly Russian dome merinos. And no, I wanted to read something real quick. In his description, he talks a little bit about it. He mentions that it's commission, and then he said, it wasn't easy to construct logically sane structures that are still somehow close to the accurate depiction, as the show tends to change it completely with each angle. It always amazed me how chaotic and grotesque its architecture is while still staying consistent and charming. And of course, I allowed myself some creative freedom. Smiley face. So I thought that was very cute. Very well put.
Nice.
I do feel like this piece does center around sense of vastness, the sense of discovery, the sense of grand scale that you might find in the city. And I feel like almost everything contributes to that. You know, it's a very crowded scene because most of the picture is covered by buildings or people, or you know, very little of it is actually covered up by the sky. So there is so much going on there. It's bustling. Now it's not terribly crowded in the streets, but you can see people walking around. There's a carriage. There's Fleur and Fancy Pants in the background. There's Bon Bon to the right, being her secret agent self. I personally love the little touch of the chalkboard sign, where you can see like you've got like coffee for one bit, something and coffee for 2 bits, like coffee with sugar for 2 bits, and everything for 3 bits or something like that. I love that kind of like world building aspect. That's a really nice little touch, and it comes out really well like depicted.
It looks like it's coffee for 1 bit, hay, and like it looks like a little thing of hay or oats, like oats and coffee for 2 bits, and then
snack.
Sugar and tea for 2 bits, and then
like everything for
2 things of hay, and then coffee or something else for 3 bits. Very, very cute. Yeah, no, the chalk sign, I like it.
I do like that you brought up the whole world building aspect, because it really does kind of open up your mind to interpretation of the scene. You've got this character that's coming in maybe to the city for the first time ever, and just like seeing this vast, you know, buildings and scenery that they've never seen before, and like you can kind of piece together little bits of the storyline.
It has huge tracts of land.
Huge tracts of land.
Is the equalist leader the one in the carriage?
Oh, I don't know. Maybe is that a paddy wagon? Is she being taken away?
You are right, Joel.
That looks like her hair. Yeah.
Yeah. I zoomed all the way in.
Starlight Shimmer.
Yeah.
Nailed it.
Starlight Glimmer, isn't it?
Starlight Glimmer, Shimmer.
Starlight, shut your face.
Whoa.
Yeah, no, there's a lot of awesome little stuff in this picture. Like, and then I want to mention like just how well rendered it is, how just well painted, like digitally painted. Like oh my, like every time Davinian comes out with something, it's just like a step up and above. And like this is quite the amazing thing. Like it renders reality extremely well. It renders perspective and like atmospheric perspective with these clouds and the mist extremely well. You mean atmospheric
perspective?
Yeah. Whatever it is.
Thank you.
It's just everything is just so awesome. Like you can notice that everything very close to the camera, and the buildings and like those awnings, very bright, vivid colors. So things are very vivid the closer to the camera they are. So you notice the most vivid things are like the little plants and bushes and awning to the right, and then like everything kind of recedes in color a little bit more, and then the most desaturated thing is the castle in the background. And so like this is what like professional artists strive to do, and then like here we have it placed in an adorable piece of pony art.
Right. Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, let's move on to the next piece, which I believe is yours, Bernd.
Hold on. Not quite done with everything. I know we need to move on, but I don't think we mentioned the points of perspective in this. Flutter Guy, you mentioned that it has like this really cool barrel distortion. But I just wanted to point out for those looking at this, if you're kind of like looking for the points of perspective, I don't know, for in your own work, just to easily point them out. There's one point of perspective in the middle of the street in the alleyway that the buildings kind of converge at. Obviously not like exactly, but in a decent manner. And it's also the lines are bending, and so they're slightly warped, which is where the barrel distortion comes from. And then there's a point also above everything, which creates the height. So if you notice, all the peaks and the buildings of Canterlot will point up to another point off of the canvas. And then the buildings on the left and right hand side also have vanishing points off the canvas as well, to the left and right points. That's all I wanted to point out.
Cool. Do you want to introduce your piece now?
Yep, I can do that. So the piece I chose for this week was by Holovy again. I featured her work last week, and it is called Lake.
And you can see here that we have Sweetie Belle, Scootaloo, and Apple Blam. They're sitting in a nice little boat, surfing around and looking at fishies.
I really like the way that the water is depicted here, in that it's very clear. It very much looks like a lake, like a shallow lake where you can see the bottom, and it's not very much distorted or discolored.
I always loved that as like a kid, like going out onto like a lake or a stream or something and like being in a boat and it just, or even like getting into like the water somewhere and it just being so clear that you can like see everything down there. I always thought that was so cool.
Yeah. I also like the fact that there's a tree just kind of in the water. And
It's more
you
common
can
than you
kinda-
think.
yeah, you can see kind of where it breaks the water line because of there's a few like points where you can kind of tell.
Where are those points?
I think where it gets lighter, where there's a little highlights on the like the roots, kind of where Apple Blam is pointing.
Apple Bloom Blam. Yeah. So, well, what's interesting to me about that is that the tree itself, like we can see and we can see it and we can tell it's definitely like a depiction of a tree, right? But why I wanted to feature this piece and why it was so interesting to me is, one, because it's very painty, but the fact that it is so painty and like loosely painted makes it kind of subjective in how we can view it or what we can see in it, right? So meaning that every person who looks at it will see something different, or and not everyone will see the same thing. So what's really interesting about this to me is that tree that is in the water is like kind of the focal point for interest, or making this an actual like creative and interesting painting to look at or kind of decipher, if you will. So the tree, that how it's illustrated, it's below the fish. So we notice the fish are very kind of like painted and kind of loose. We can tell they're like fish or goldfish, which creates a very cute narrative, because there's a bunch of little loose tiny ones off to the left, and then there's like big ones like closer up, closer to the surface, that we can like very clearly see, which shows like the water is very like clear to look in. But the tree itself is below them. So what that can mean, two things. That can either mean that it's a reflection of a tree above the water that's reflecting onto this pool that or lake that they're floating in, but then the fish are showing through it or above it, and it doesn't like reflect or show on the fish, or it's an actual tree underneath the water that is like that the fish are swimming above, or like maybe it's roots or something like that. So it could totally just be like a long thing of roots, or it could be a fallen tree, or it could still be that kind of that reflection. But like, I don't know if there's a way that we can technically tell other than like the fish are painted over it and what we want to see in that, because I feel like you or I could totally see it in a different way. But the fact that it is still something of a tree and we can see it differently is still very cool. Like the fact that it's capable of doing that, and also just the amount of colors used and everything. Like again, in all of Holovy's work, like the color is always like the strongest capturing factor for me. Like the colors that she uses and puts in everything.
Now there's another option that you're leaving out here.
Sure.
And that is that Discord kind of took over, and the fish are actually in the air and swimming through the air
Above the water.
Yeah.
They're actually underwater, and they're flipped upside down so that the sky is like, below them.
So
and
they're
the trees...
actually flying.
No, they're underwater. The tree's flying.
Oh, so would the fish be flying in this case then?
No.
So maybe but like in my fan fiction, everything's upside down, and they're floating on the verge of reality, and then the fish are flying through the treetops that are physically upside down.
Right.
If anyone has seen Time Bandits, there's a scene in it where they fall through the water into water on the other side, like falling through reality.
Well, I think I like what Vern was talking about when he was talking about like the different interpretations. I think it is very open to interpretation about what the depth is there, and whether or not things are sticking out of the water, and where the heck are these fish are compared to the water level. Like the actual physical water level is very loosely defined, so it's hard to get a sense of depth for a lot of this. And I think that's really cool. I think it's very different, and it's done in such a way that doesn't make it look... It makes it look like it was done on purpose, right? To kind of give you an interesting perspective into what's into the water, and to emphasize what was into the water without pushing into the background because it's farther away or anything like that.
Yeah.
There's other little bits that are subjective too. Like if you look at the top of the painting. There's like little grassy bits that could either be like above the water or like maybe a part of reflection of a bank or something. Like I don't know. I would assume they're under the water, something like that. So like what this really succeeds in doing is not so much rendering something like absolutely realistic, because we know the artist can. If you look at the boat and the CMC, like they're rendered amazingly. So like what this does is it shows that the artist, like Holiday, is actually more trying to capture maybe like an emotion of something. Like it sounds really like astute to say, but it's like there's kind of a feeling that you get when you're floating on a lake and you have these characters placed in a scene, like looking and pointing down through fish, and it has this very like bright, vivid, like spring colors, and it's very warm and cool. And so like it's more of kind of an emotional narrative painting than it is like I'm going to realistically render a tree underneath the water with fish over it, right? Like everything's so loose and free that it doesn't worry about any of that. So it just puts it aside and lets like enjoyment and narrative and / emotion kind of come in more to the main meaning more, if you know what I mean.
I almost get like a carefreedness feel from this piece. Like the CMC are just kind of floating there, and they could float there for hours and just like
Look at both the expressions on their face. Like they're just kind of calm. They're floating. That maybe she's dragging her hoof through the water, and like even Sweetie Belle as well. Like she's partially obstructed by that tree or bush in the foreground, and she's just again like looking off to the side of the boat. Like they're not sitting. They're not like excited, crazy expressions. They're obviously not trying to get their cutie marks. They're just kind of floating.
Yeah. It's like existential.
They're just fish
floating through time.
Just floating through time. All right.
So like everywhere that we went in Bali had like places filled with koi fish.
Yeah.
Giant.
Cool.
Another little bit that I would like to point out, we mentioned this again last week in Holly's piece, Holly. She's very, very good at reflective lighting and just atmospheric bounced lighting in like almost anything. So again, if you look at the characters, there's light hitting the water or hitting that lake or very bright blue and then reflecting right back onto the characters. So the undersides of them have that same glow, and then like the parts of their face have that glow and color from the water incorporated in them and in their silhouette. And again, it's a very beautiful touch.
Cool.
Nice.
All right. So shall we move on to the next piece?
Yes, unless my internet dies.
Yes.
All right, let's do this before you drop again, Joel. Hey-o!
Hey-o. Okay, so this one is called Fluttershy by Amy Shy. Or Am I Shy? I'm not too sure which one it is. It's a cool, funky watercolor of Fluttershy. And
I'm sorry, I think you mean Fluttershy.
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 I get it because she's 2D.
Hey. She's also flattered.
Yeah.
And all the compliments we're about to give her. So, I want to open this up to you, Joel, before you die suddenly. Like, what do you like the most about this piece?
It's a watercolor, and I love watercolors. Some of the techniques that they've used in this one, where you look at her hair, it's sharp brush strokes, so it's sharp, not a whole lot of water in the pigment. And then you go down towards the end of her hair, and she slowly adds more and more water until it just sort of fades into the background and just becomes the background.
Eventually dilutes.
Yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah.
And then by the time you get to the left, it's just like splatters
of pink and blue color.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the injection of blue into it is really interesting, right? Because the blue kind of comes out of nowhere for me, right? Like if you take a look at the right-hand side of the piece, there really isn't any blue anywhere, but as you go to the left, there's just like more and more and more until you get to the left-hand side, and it's like almost all blue. It's a very interesting addition.
Something else I've just noticed is everybody who's ever made traditional art knows the pain of trying to get it on the internet, because how do you scan it? Do you take a photo of it? What do you do? What they've done here is they've put MSI has done our right side of Fluttershy in a dark color, so it's shaded, so it's in shade, and then taken a photo not of the center but off to the left, so that part's light and the right is not. So the whole thing is dark that way, because everybody knows if a camera makes a bad photo on one side of the page, and they've used that to their advantage.
Interesting.
And it's interesting because the white balance, it seems like on the right side of the page is kind of got a blue tint to
Yeah.
it almost, kind of complementing the blue pigment on the other side.
Yeah.
In a way.
In a way.
Yeah, I think well, like it could be it's not the camera's light. It could be that there was like a like just like a light on the artist's desk or something,
Yeah.
and then they placed it a certain way and took a picture. But yeah, you're totally right in that the left side is way more illuminated than the right side, which ends up intentionally or not creating a dynamic where there's the blue on the left that's very vivid, and then the shadow on the right hand side, since it's darker, almost makes it seem blue, at least on my monitor. And you can actually see kind of this process in some of the artist's other work. Like in this piece, it actually just shows the watercolor, but like actually like a photo of both parts of it, so like of the entire thing.
Well,
So-
to give you a better example, there's actually a version of this. This artist does like V2s or V.2s,
There you
where
go,
they
yeah.
take these interesting perspective shots of the actual physical watercolor.
Yeah.
So there's one for Fluttershy.
Very cute.
They're bigger than you expect to.
Yeah.
That's cool. So you can see that like the lighting of the piece was kind of intentional, because when you take a look at the actual art piece, it's not quite as different as you see in the finished product here.
And there's
That's
just-
interesting, kind of how much you can add to a traditional piece just in the way that you kind of capture it into a digital medium. And I think that's not something that a lot of like newer traditional artists kind of consider, because it's like, you draw your sketch or your painting or whatever, and you're done, you take a picture of it, put it up online. But like this kind of shows how much like the lighting in the scene and like white balance and like all these other aspects of the camera work can actually lead to like different emotions in the scene. Like there's a piece that MI did of Luna that is basically the exact opposite. It's the same kind of general picture where Luna's off to the right, and there's kind of this splotchy colors to the left, but the left side is very much in shadow in this piece, and the bright spot is on the right, and it's got a very different feel to it.
Yeah. It's cool stuff. I think the other thing that you were mentioning too is, right, you were talking about being finished with a piece and taking a picture and being done with it. The cool thing about traditional, and I think there's like this aspect over digital, is that when you're done with a digital piece, it just goes onto your hard drive somewhere as bits of data, but when you're finished a traditional piece, you have that now, right? Like you got to put it somewhere and like maybe display it or maybe like sell it. So, like once you have a traditional piece done, yeah, you can take pictures of it and put it up online, but like you've got this physical copy that you got to put somewhere, and it gives a certain weight to the art.
Well, and like the whole environment aspect of it too. Like if you were to give your traditional piece of art to someone else, like they could put it in an environment that makes it look completely different. Whereas with digital art, like most people are looking at it on a monitor or a laptop or a tablet or whatever, and you're just not going to get the same kind of effect.
Exactly. So what my art teacher used to say a lot is that like for traditional art, like how it exists is extremely important to it, meaning that like where it is placed and how you view it becomes part of the art itself. So whether it's hanging on your wall, tacked to your wall, sitting on your desk, put in a frame, placed on a pedestal, like how it is physically existing when you look at it becomes an extremely important part of it. And that's true even here when we look at it in this picture, because it's I'm presuming placed on her desk, and then have a light placed over it either to the left or right, and then a picture is taken of it. So I don't know how the extent or intentionally the artist went to put the light source on the left or right, but whether she meant to or not, it affected the picture in which she took that we see on our monitors. So for digital art, like it's always the same. It's always going to be on someone's monitor, and the only way in which it changes is what website you post it to. But other than that, it's always going to be the same picture. Where with traditional art, like every picture that you take will physically be different, and then how you take it and how it like the lighting was or on something like that is going to change how we see it. Like we've just showed in this one, talking about Fluttershy's light being on the left or Luna's light being on the right. And
See, you keep saying Fluttershy, and I don't know who you're talking about. It's Fluttershy.
hate you. So point being, like, for traditional art, it like it's physical, like it's actually being a physical thing ends up being very, very important. In fact, my art teacher, like, he wouldn't even let us tack our work to the wall. Like, if we tacked our artwork up on the wall and like we had to present it a specific way, like if it was our final, like he would dock us that way if it looked like we didn't give a crap hanging on the wall. Like if it was crooked, he assumed that we intentionally wanted it crooked, and if it wasn't, he would dock us. So like, anyway, just a food for thought.
Om nom nom.
Nom nom nom.
I've eaten it.
No.
All right. Does anybody else have anything else to say about this piece, or can we move on to the questions?
I like their
lovely.
eyes.
There?
Yeah, so like Fluttershy's eyes closed, very nice expression, but then on the Luna one that was linked, very, very nice glowy eyes.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
They're both done very well, open and closed.
Yeah.
That's it.
I like the concentration of details, like Joel was pointing out earlier. But even like in Fluttershy's wing that's kind of folded up, it's like less detailed and lighter, like less saturation in it.
Her hair's nice too, the little strings and bangs. I don't
Yeah.
see Fluttershy with bangs often. It's a nice touch.
No.
All right. Let's move on to the questions. Let's try doing one question, see how far we get, and then we might have to put off the other question until next week.
Okay, so we do the big one first.
Yes, we'll do
Yeah.
them in order,
Okay,
as
so-
in the thingy.
First question from today is as follows. It's when I start to read it. Everyone tends to have a particular emotion when they feel more strongly than others: anger, sadness, joy, love, fear, etc. Do you guys know which emotion or emotions you naturally tend towards, the ones you seem more easily to gravitate to or express? By a late customer.
Yes.
Max, you're the
Tough.
emotions guy.
I'm not the question guy.
I said you're the
question
emotion
No,
guy.
you said
No.
Oh, I'm the emotions guy.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but
Touchy-feely, bro.
that makes my answer so much more complex, right?
Well, you're the girl. You're the girl amongst the group. What do you think?
I am absolutely the girl amongst the group. That's sexist, Joel.
Wow.
I mean, okay, so like I haven't really had a lot of time to think about it, but I know from like external sources, I've been told a lot of the times that I tend to see the bright side of a lot of things. I am a really big optimist. I believe in optimism, and it's something that is very powerful in my life. It helps me lead a happier life, and some people will say it's naive, but I think as long as you're smart about it, optimism can be quite healthy for you. I've honestly lived a very happy life as well. So I'm not sure about like that I would feel it more strongly, but if there was an emotion that I kind of like related to, like a raw emotion, you know, I think I've had a very happy and joyful life, and so that would be the one that I would relate to. I'm not sure about feel more strongly in others, but I definitely relate to happiness in a lot of different ways.
Burn?
Hmm.
Is that your answer?
So, for me, like, the emotion that I gravitate towards is obviously happiness, and it's what we all strive for. But I don't feel it stronger than other emotions. Like I gravitate towards the show because it's very positive and happy. But I don't know, I like that emotion. Like, who doesn't, right? But it's interesting that the question is like, what emotion do you like tend towards, or do you feel more strongly? It's that concept of feel more strongly. Like recently, I was looking at, it was some pony artwork. I was looking at some work from Dimfan. You guys remember Dimfan? He's the really wonky like Pinkie Pie, Applejack, and Twilight piece that's all abstract and whatnot. He also has some other work in his gallery that's much less jokey. It's much more serious in like a very mature tone. It's ponies, but they're painted in this war-like setting and narrative. And so when people say war, they think like video games or just like fighting and guns and cool stuff. It's not a cool stuff depiction. Like there's some cool things going on, but it's like it's the deeper, more gut-wrenching parts of war that you would never want to talk about, but painted with ponies, right? So it's like it shows like a character trying to save another character, or like it paints one pony and that it's like showing the effects of like shell shock, and it's like based on an actual like painting of a British soldier with shell shock, and it very mature pieces. Like there's some blood involved in some of them, so warning. But it made me feel like an emotion of sadness that hits me in the pit of my heart, that like nothing else like hits me like that, where like when you look at something and feel that emotion, it affects me physically, to where like I can tell that it like affects my heart in some way, or like if you see something that's so happy, or it makes you like tear up or something like that, right? So like that hit me on another emotional level than things normally would. Does that make sense? I kind of rambled for a really long time, but it's kind of hard to put it into words, because it's like I see this and then like my heart sinks, but it's like the physical, like I can physically feel my heart sink more than just like the emotional concept of like, oh, I maybe in a happy mood or sad mood, you know?
Right.
Yeah, well, it's all subconscious, and you don't realize it until like you're like, oh wait, my heart's sinking. Huh. Yeah.
Don't drown. All right.
I need
What about you, Ted?
I don't know. I tend to have like a hair trigger towards anger, but not like outward anger. It's more like if I see something online that's like, not right, or like something that just doesn't.
Unjust?
Yeah, unjust, I guess, is probably the best word to say. Like it'll get me really riled up, but I won't do anything about it. Like I'll just like, and I'll try and push it away, like, because I like everyone else, I strive for this happiness kind of thing, but I feel like that's probably one of the easier emotions to get me going, especially like if there's kind of a clickbait situation going on. It's like,
you want to know what Ted really feels? Here, click this.
10 reasons why Ted feels
10 emotions that Ted's feeling right now.
Yeah.
Number 5 will blow you away. All right, Joel, what about you?
I don't know. It's a tough introspective type of question. Like obviously the ones that are easiest to feel are like happiness and sadness and anger and depression, etc. They're like the easiest ones, so you don't have to think about it, just happens. But the ones, I don't know, like tends toward being sort of dark and emotional, and nobody understands me except my diary.
So you're a brooding type, basically.
Yeah, I don't know, maybe.
So
maybe
for the record,
in terms of drawing stuff, like making art, it's happy and just excited and fun. Sorry, go ahead, Max.
Cute.
I was just
I
gonna
know you
say,
like cute.
like relative to emotions in general. I'm actually gonna go back and change my answer now that I reread the question. but like, I was just looking up like what are emotions? Like what are some different emotions?
Yeah, what's Inside Out?
Apparently, like the simple like categorization of like this is the most basic like generalization of emotions. It comes in 6 categories: happy, sad, angry, scared, tender, and excited.
Tender. I like my meat tender.
Yeah, so tender is like intimate, loving,
Like a
warm-hearted,
perfectly cooked steak,
sympathetic, kind. That's kind of like what tender is.
Is that where the word tenderized comes from? Because when you eat a steak that's been tenderized, like
it loves you.
Just
it loves you.
like warms your heart.
Yeah. All right. Anyway, so those are the 6. Those are the 6 emotional categories, and I think, when I look at those 6 emotional categories, and when I think like back on like what do I feel more strongly than others, I think I would have to either say like sadness or scared, like fear. I hate horror movies. I can't stand it. I hate being scared. I hate feeling uncomfortable. Like I really, and like it's a very visceral reaction. So that is one end of it.
Max.
But on the other hand, like I enjoy and I allow myself to be quite sad, right? Like I enjoy reading stories that are sad. I enjoy listening to things that make me sad. I can appreciate the emotions of being sad, and I feel like I have the capacity to enter like a really deep level of sadness voluntarily when I'm reading or experiencing something like that.
See, that's where you and I differed. I remember this because like we both hate horror movies, but like you can embrace that sadness. Like, yeah, like nah. Like I could never do that. Like
Yeah.
I could never read like a sad fan fiction or something. Like I could never let myself sink to that level. So like that's why like seeing some of those artworks by Dimfan hit me so hard because like it was on a certain level of emotional sadness that like I'm not used to, and like I technically feel like I feel very strongly in comparison to others, but like I avoid it in a way because like I know it doesn't put me in the right mindset that like that I want to be, right? Because like I whenever I enter a conversation I try to be like the happier guy or the bubbly guy or be nice to people, and like because like yeah, I don't know, making me think about that really like becoming very sad or reading really sad things is like
very different. Yeah,
you know?
I think this is the kind of question that is, you know, supposed to just generate discussion. It's not supposed to have some sort of solid, firm answer because human beings are complex, right? It's like when you're saying like which pony are you most like. It's like, well, you could probably find relational points with all of or at least most of the main six, right? Because like we're very complex and we've got a whole bunch of stuff. So like when I think about it, like there are moments where I feel all of these different emotional types very strongly, right? So it's difficult to say whether or not something's the most strong you react the most. I think it generated some good discussion.
I'm absolutely Rebel Dash. I'm a jerk.
But we are running up on time. So Joel, you're rusty, but plugs.
Let me just oil up my my mouth parts. Okay, so we have a whole bunch of stuff. Cutie Art Crusaders Picado. You have to go to Picado and type in our name to find it. cutieartcrusaders.deviantart.com. cutieartcrusaders@gmail.com is our email to send us stuff. youtube.com/cutieartcrusaders. cutieartcrusaders.tumblr.com. facebook.com/cutieartcrusaders and @cutieartcrusade. Burn, please shut up.
I can hear Burn just like giggling in the background. I don't know why you're giggling, Burn. There's nothing to giggle at. Shut your face hole. All right, man. That was like a train wreck, and I couldn't stop it. All right. Well, that is everything. Thank you, Joel, for doing the plugs.
I would very much like to just briefly talk about our panel because it is only 2.5 or 3 weeks away.
Oh my goodness!
I know. You're gonna be there
2 weeks.
in Skype and spirit.
I could definitely drown myself in spirits.
Yeah, it is like just over 2 weeks when this airs.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Yeah. So we have a panel. It is called Art Analysis with the Cutie Art Crusaders. We are basically going to put on somewhat of a live show. We're going to talk about all things art related, and also kind of how we do the podcast a little bit.
Yeah, so we're going to talk about the podcast. We're going to talk about art, a little bit like what we do on the show. We're going to talk a little bit more meta. So we're going to talk about like what it's like to analyze art over time, how that's changed our view on art, you know, how we view artists and how we've interacted with the artistic community. We're going to be taking questions, and we're going to be giving out prizes at the panel for those who ask good questions. So
or bring drawings of our OCs.
No, Josh.
OC.
So like, you know, please, if you're coming to BronyCon, feel free to come out. You've got incentive to come out. You not only see us, but you can also win some cool prizes if you ask some good questions. And yeah, when we can reveal when and where that is now, because BronyCon's put up the official schedule. So when and where is it?
Basically, we were sent an email with our schedule information. We were told that it was private information, but they released the schedule. So now we can kind of go ahead and tell you that our panel is officially in the Hall of the Moon on Saturday, August 8th at 4:15 p.m. to 5:15 p.m.
Fun fact, the day after my birthday.
Hey!
So
Fun fact,
come
that's a
bring
Sunday
burned
for
birthday gifts.
Draw my OC.
That's like early Sunday morning for me.
So yeah, definitely come out to that if you guys are interested in that. We'd love to see you come out there. We understand we tried to get it after the artist alley closes, so if you're a vendor, you will unfortunately have to find someone to cover for your table, but we really appreciate it if you come out. And yeah.
We will also be recording it and putting it up online. So if you are not going to BronyCon, or if you do go to BronyCon and miss it out on the panel, jerks, you will be able to watch it afterwards.
Rude.
Yeah. So yeah, we really look forward to seeing, as many of you guys out there as possible. We hope that we get more than like 4 people that we drag to the panel. So that would be really cool. We don't expect much. Like, honestly, I don't expect that many people to come out. But if it turns out to be a small showing, then we'd love to have some like one-on-one time with you guys and just chat with you about what you're up to or what art you've got going. And so yeah, like, come out, hang out with us. We're going to be talking after the panel too, if you'd like to talk to us more personally. Yeah, it should be a really fun time, and we're really, really excited to do it. So if you can make it out, please make it out. It'll be an awesome time, and we would super appreciate it. So all the information is on the screen, and we will be reminding you for the next 2 weeks before we go off to BronyCon anyways. So
I have to do a shave on myself.
What?
Huh?
If you guys are going to be at BronyCon, I got to make one by myself.
You to what?
No, you can't. We'll take like a week or 2 off or something like that.
That is our episode.
Well, yeah, but we won't get it up in time, so that's fine.
I don't know.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. We don't really know what the scheduled plan is because we're going to be away at BronyCon for a while.
If you're going to our panel, feel free to bring your sketchbooks and art.
Yes. And we will probably also do a meetup with people who want to actually talk to us, and not in a panel format. We'll probably do that.
It'll probably be around the panel, though.
Yeah, it'll probably either be right. Well, it'll probably be right afterwards.
After the panel.
Yeah, I'm thinking it'll probably be like a hangout thing afterwards.
But it might push it to like after the vendor hall closes or something, because then Dave can come.
Yeah.
Go to a bar.
Anyways.
Or we could just take over the vendor hall.
Anyways, that is everything for this week. So thank you guys for watching. Whether or not you're on Picarto or you're on YouTube, we love you all the same. Make sure to come out to our panel. Panel. My name is Rainbow Plasma.
My name's Burn01.
I'm Flutterguy317.
And I'm Atlas Park, and I'm editing this week.
Yay.
And we'll see you guys next week.
See you next week.
Bye.
If Joel doesn't edit me out.
Did you say meowt?
Meow, that's right.